Daniel Freeman, a 58-year-old accountant in a small Texas town, had spent his life practicing discipline and patience. A man of numbers, Daniel meticulously planned for the future. He had been working at the same firm for nearly 30 years and was respected for his integrity and reliability. His evenings were quiet, his weekends predictable, and his dreams centered around retirement, fishing trips, long hikes, and finally writing the novel he'd always imagined. Married for 28 years to his high school sweetheart, Marlene, Daniel believed he had everything he needed. Their life wasn't flashy, but it was stable. He had never imagined Betrayal could live so close, inside his own home. Marlene Freeman, 56, was a former hairdresser who left her job to manage the household full-time after the birth of their only daughter, Chelsea. Though devoted to her family for decades, Marlene began to feel her identity slipping away as she aged. With her daughter grown and her husband always busy with work or money-saving plans, she felt unseen, a ghost in her own marriage. Behind Daniel's back, Marlene often daydreamed about travel, excitement, and even romance. Her social media accounts, though tame on the surface, became her escape, a way to connect with people outside her carefully planned suburban life. It was on a Facebook gardening group that Marlene first noticed Travis Hinton. At 33, Travis was a former bartender turned personal trainer with a charming smile and easy charisma. He lived in Austin, about 3 hours away from the Freemans, and posted often about healthy living, morning jogs, and the freedom of life without restrictions. Marlene initially commented on a post about tomato vines, but the direct messages followed quickly. What began as light banter evolved into deep, late-night chats. Travis called her Marlene the Magnificent, and after years of feeling like a footnote in her own story, she melted. Daniel had been saving religiously for retirement since he was 26. He had a spreadsheet for every penny, and by the time he reached 58, the couple had nearly $420,000 in combined savings and investments. He planned to surprise Marlene with a Mediterranean cruise to kick off their retirement in a year. To make things easier, Daniel added Marlene to all financial accounts, trusting her completely. They had no secrets, or so he thought. That trust would become his greatest vulnerability. As her affair with Travis intensified, Marlene became bolder. Under the pretext of home maintenance and family expenses, she began withdrawing small amounts from their savings. $500 here, $800 there. Daniel barely noticed. He was focused on the long term. What he didn't know was that Marlene had started a secret bank account under her maiden name. Within 6 months, she had moved over $60,000 into the hidden account. Travis, too, encouraged her, feeding her fantasy of starting a new life together, far from Daniel, far from the dull life she had come to resent. Chelsea, now 25, worked as a marketing coordinator in Dallas and often visited home on weekends. She noticed her mother acting strange, dressing differently, spending more time on her phone, and talking about reinventing herself. Chelsea even saw her mother flirtatiously texting once, but chalked it up to harmless midlife boredom. But when Chelsea saw an unfamiliar man's name pop up on Marlene's screen, TH, followed by a red heart, she knew something was wrong. She debated telling her father but feared causing unnecessary drama. Travis was no angel. Though charming and athletic on the outside, he had a criminal record for fraud and had once served time for forging checks. He targeted lonely women online, especially older women with money and fragile self-esteem. To Marlene, he promised the world. Beaches in Costa Rica, a small fitness studio they could run together, maybe even a second chance at motherhood. But to his friends, Travis often laughed about milking the rich lady dry before moving on. By the spring of the following year, Daniel noticed a discrepancy in their savings, more than $130,000 missing. At first, he blamed it on a possible bank error. But after hours of cross-referencing and calls, the truth was clear. The money was gone. And Marlene was evasive. When he asked her about the account, she claimed it was for a surprise gift for him. But the tension in her voice, the way she avoided eye contact, it haunted him. 3 weeks later, Marlene was gone. Daniel came home to an empty house. No note, no explanation. Her clothes, cosmetics, and even their joint safe box were missing. The only clue? A message on his voicemail. "I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. I need to be free. Don't try to find me." Daniel was shattered. At first, local police assumed it was a voluntary disappearance. No signs of struggle, no forced entry. An adult woman had chosen to leave. But when Daniel reported the missing money, now totaling over $210,000, a financial crimes detective took notice. Detective Lisa Granger, known for her analytical instincts, began tracking Marlene's digital footprint. What she found shocked even her. Detective Granger uncovered a trail of transactions leading to hotels in Austin, spa resorts, and luxury clothing websites. Marlene had been living lavishly under an alias. She used prepaid debit cards, Airbnb rentals under fake names, and burner phones. But one recurring detail stood out: frequent payments made to Travis H. The detective dug deeper and discovered Travis Hinton's criminal past. It became clear. Marlene hadn't just run away. She had been manipulated, and possibly targeted, by a con man. Travis suddenly began flaunting wealth, gym memberships at elite clubs, flashy watches, and expensive restaurant tabs. He told friends he had a sugar wife who believed in his dreams and was bankrolling his future gym empire. No one questioned him. After all, Travis had always been a smooth talker. He even leased a new SUV under a false identity and moved into a high-rise apartment overlooking the Colorado River. But the freedom he enjoyed came with a ticking clock. Back home, Daniel was falling apart. The betrayal had gutted him. His friends noticed he was drinking more, missing work, and spending long hours alone in his garage. His once meticulous budget folders now sat unopened. For a man who lived with order, his life had collapsed into chaos. He couldn't understand how Marlene, the woman who once made him birthday pancakes, could vanish with everything they had built. Chelsea began searching on her own. She created anonymous accounts and messaged Travis, pretending to be a lonely widow. It didn't take long before Travis responded, using the same language, the same charm. Chelsea was horrified. She reported her findings to Detective Granger, who now had enough probable cause to dig into his accounts. The deeper they looked, the clearer it became. Marlene wasn't just a runaway wife. She was involved in a con, one that was spiraling out of control. Though she initially felt liberated, Marlene's conscience began to eat at her. In the luxury of her Austin condo, she had panic attacks and vivid dreams of Daniel crying alone. She told Travis she wanted to send Daniel back the remaining money, but Travis grew cold. "You're not going back," he warned. "You go back, you ruin everything." Marlene secretly began planning her own escape, this time, from Travis. She kept some cash hidden, made a backup ID, and began emailing an old friend in Nevada, asking if she could stay with her for a while. But Travis had been watching. One night, he confronted her, and a loud fight shook the walls of their apartment. Neighbors heard glass shatter, and then silence. Before we continue with this chilling unraveling of secrets and betrayal, if you're captivated by true crime stories like this one, make sure to hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tap the bell icon so you never miss a new episode. We dive deep into real cases with twists you won't believe, just like this one. Now, back to the investigation. When Marlene failed to show up for her scheduled spa session and didn't return her friends' calls, Chelsea filed an official missing person report. Based on Travis's record and the recent argument, police obtained a warrant to search his apartment. What they found was chilling: bloodstains, a broken phone, and a journal with torn pages. Travis was nowhere to be found. A statewide manhunt was launched. Travis had taken Marlene's SUV and disappeared. Surveillance footage caught him heading west toward Arizona. His phone pinged near Flagstaff, and then silence. Daniel, learning of this development, went numb. His wife had betrayed him, but now she might be dead. The emotional conflict nearly destroyed him. Daniel spent nights rewatching old camcorder tapes, their wedding, Marlene holding baby Chelsea, anniversary dinners. The woman in those videos felt like a stranger now, but his heart still ached. "How did we go from that to this?" he whispered to himself in one recording. His pain was mixed with guilt. Should he have been more present? More romantic? Was this, in some way, his fault? 2 weeks later, Travis was found in a roadside motel in New Mexico. He had dyed his hair, grown a beard, and was using a fake ID. In his backpack were Marlene's credit cards, 2 burner phones, and a loaded pistol. But Marlene was still missing, and Travis refused to talk. For hours, Travis stayed silent. But when shown a photo of Marlene from their happier days, something shifted in his expression. "She was going to ruin everything," he finally said. "I didn't mean to, it got out of hand." He confessed, partially, said they argued, she slipped and hit her head. He panicked and handled it. But he refused to say where she was. Following a tip from Travis's old friend, police searched an abandoned quarry outside of Wimberley. Buried under shallow gravel, wrapped in a hotel bedsheet, they found Marlene. Her death was not accidental. The autopsy showed signs of blunt force trauma and strangulation. The dream life she had chased ended in a lonely, brutal death. Daniel collapsed when detectives confirmed the news. Despite everything, he had held on to hope that she was alive. The funeral was small, quiet, and filled with unresolved tension. Daniel refused to speak during the service. He sat in the front row, clutching their wedding photo. Travis was charged with second-degree murder, fraud, and identity theft. During the trial, Daniel testified with tears in his eyes, not just for his wife's death, but for the loss of the life they built. The courtroom heard text messages, recordings, and the journal entries Marlene had kept, some expressing regret, others obsession with Travis. Chelsea struggled deeply. She blamed herself for not acting sooner and battled with feelings of hatred and sorrow. She began seeing a therapist and eventually started a support group for children of betrayed parents. Her mother had died, not just physically, but long before, in spirit, in ethics, in the lies she told. Travis was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life without parole. The judge called him a predator who disguised himself as a dream. Daniel didn't attend sentencing. He said he didn't need to see it. No prison can undo what's been done. Daniel put the house up for sale. Every room was a memory. The empty kitchen, the closet where her dresses once hung. He gave Chelsea what she wanted and donated the rest. When he finally shut the door for the last time, he whispered, "Goodbye, Marlene." Daniel moved to Oregon to live near his sister. He took up woodcarving and hiking, but the smile never fully returned. Still, he was trying. He joined a community group, made new friends, and slowly rebuilt a sense of self. But the wound never really closed. Daniel still had a portion of his retirement savings, enough to buy a small cabin near a lake. He never remarried, but he found peace in solitude. Some mornings, he sat on the porch with coffee, staring at the water. And sometimes, he spoke aloud, to the ghost of the woman he once loved. This story, more than anything, became a cautionary tale in the town. People talked about betrayal, about how blind love can be, about how a quiet life doesn't always mean a happy one, and how people can live double lives behind the calmest of faces. Daniel, forever changed, began giving talks at community centers about financial safety and emotional health. In prison, Travis began writing a memoir, "The Women I Loved and Left," but no publisher would take it. His reputation was sealed. He now worked in the prison laundry room, stripped of charm, forgotten by the world he once deceived. His name became a warning, not a legacy. Chelsea, now 27, left her job and started working as a counselor for at-risk women. She used her pain as fuel. Her mother's choices became a lesson, not just in betrayal, but in the danger of needing validation from the wrong people. Her voice now helped others find strength. Love, money, and betrayal. These 3 themes had defined Daniel and Marlene's story. But what remained, above all, was silence. The silence of what could have been. Of years lost. Of a heart that trusted too deeply and paid the price. But also, the silence of healing. Of peace slowly returning. As the sun sets over Daniel's lakeside cabin in the distance, a framed photo of him and Marlene in their youth sits on a shelf. He saved for a dream. She chased a fantasy. In the end, both were robbed, not just of money, but of time, truth, and trust. Trust, once broken, leaves behind scars that time can't erase. If this story moved you, shocked you, or made you think twice about the people we let into our life, like this video, comment below with your thoughts on who was really at fault, and subscribe for more true crime stories that uncover the dark truths hiding behind closed doors. New uploads every week. And every case leaves you asking one question. What would you have done?